Let's take a look at the running back rankings. And we had an earlier conversation, Barry, how you said, I might be too low on Bijan Robinson. He's sitting there at number 5, only behind Christian McCaffrey, Austin Eckler, Saquon Barkley, and Jonathan Taylor. Very familiar names in the first round of fantasy, especially in redraft leagues.
And honestly, there is a scenario where he goes number 2 after McCaffrey among running backs, right? We'll see what happens with Eckler's situation. If he's not back with the Chargers, and that's a situation that still hasn't sort of been resolved. So I could see a scenario where if he's not with the Chargers, you move him off. Taylor, if you don't get great reports, or if I'm in a draft and someone takes Bijan Robinson as the number 2 running back, I'm not looking at him weird going, like, what are you doing? Like, that's certainly in the scenario. Like, right? You would?
I would do it personally.
I think I would too.
Yeah. I have a little note at the end of today's show of why when we talk schedules, so I'll save it. But yes, I would take Bijan Robinson number 2 overall.
Like I said, I think I might be too low on him for sure. I could see a scenario where he jumps over Taylor and Saquon as well. Yep. So we'll see. And by the way, Eckler if Eckler moves on.
Jay,
go ahead.
Jay, what do you think of those rankings? Is there a guy in the outside the top 5 that you could see having a top 5 finish?
Yeah, Tony Pollard is the really interesting one to me, particularly if, there's no Ezekiel Elliott and he doesn't kind of resurface, which I think fantasy managers hopes that he resurfaces somewhere else so he doesn't disrupt Tony Pollard. But Pollard had a stretch, I want to say from like week 8 to 16, that type of range, where he was just about the best running back around. He is, just whenever he gets usage, he just produces like an absolute monster. He's another guy who's 60-1 for Offensive Player of the Year. He could absolutely win that award. So he's the interesting one to me. I think Josh Jacobs as well. He's just a difficult guy to project. He was the best pure running back in the league last year, won the rushing title. It's just the weirdness of like the contract situation, and that team just doesn't seem to be trending in the right direction. But he is still an absolute beast when he's out there.
No question about it, but 393 total touches last year, and so almost near that magic 400 number, and we have seen traditionally some drop off when players get that kind of usage. Now, he's incredibly tough. He's still very, very young, but that's something that one of the reasons why I'm at 6, and I think there's an argument you could have him even higher. And coming in at number 10, how about Rhamondre Stevenson? Again, no Damian Harris there. It's really going to be the Rhamondre show for the Patriots. One of the things that's exciting for me is that this is a guy that had a 17% target share last year, which is 3rd highest among running backs. You don't really think of Rhamondre Stevenson when you think about the McCaffreys, the Ecklers, the true pass-catching running backs, but he was right there in terms of target share from weeks 3 through 13. There was a 10-game stretch there where he was the 3rd best running back in fantasy, averaging over 18 points per game. Again, no Damian Harris. There's no one on the Patriots roster that you think
that's the key.
Well, that's who takes up some of the slack for him. Last year it was with Damian Harris.
Yeah, and there's also no concern like with, say, Dallas. Maybe they just throw the ball a lot more because they got a good offensive line and Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb and Brandon Cooks. Like, the Patriots aren't going to have Mac Jones throwing the ball 45 times. Like, they want to run.
They do, and I think they'll have a more cohesive offensive unit under Bill O'Brien than they did last year, which was kind of a mess. So you think about Bill O'Brien and you think about some of the years he had in Houston. Think about like Arian Foster, and so I think Rhamondre is a top 10 player this year. Hey, it's Matthew Berry from NBC Sports and RotoWorld.com. Just want to thank you so much for watching what you just watched, or at least being too lazy to click out of it after the autoplay just kept it going. So either way, thank you so much for just letting it scroll by your screen. And now I'd like to ask you respectfully, please subscribe to the NFL on NBC YouTube channel for the latest NFL news, fantasy headlines from RotoWorld, and betting analysis from NBC Sports Edge.